Hello everyone and welcome back to the Hound of Shadow. Last time we participated in a seance and apparently now the Hound of Shadow is after us. Or is it? Anyway, we did end the first day and now we fell asleep. The Hound of Shadow is upon you and you bear his mark. The adept is pointing at the young man who screams terribly and begins clawing at his face. He must be wearing a mask of some kind because when he takes his hands away, his face is gone. In its place is a thing of horror, covered in shaggy black fur, with eyes like boiling lava, above a blunt muzzle which drips blood. He turns toward you, and the jaw escape to reveal cruel fangs. He speaks, but you cannot understand his words, and his breath is hot with the sweet stench of corruption. Abruptly you find yourself awake in bed, trembling and bathed in sweat. It is the morning of the 24th of July 1920. And looking at your watch, you see that the time is 29 minutes to 8. What now? So looks like we just had a nightmare here. And now the Hound of Shadow is after us, as we already suspected. And that is literally what is the case here. So we now have to stop the Hound of Shadow. So we should probably get up. You get out of bed. You're in your bedroom. Glancing around it, you are once again thankful that is decorated in the neutral shade of paint, more brown, and not something frightful like eau de Nil. To the left of the door, you can see a bed, and against the opposite wall, the wardrobe. You see your pajamas. Okay, that's awesome. Can we put on the pajamas? Why aren't we wearing the pajamas? I guess it's because we went to sleep in our clothes. Sorry, that isn't possible. I guess that's beyond our abilities. Well, let's just leave. Not going to like shave or take a shower or anything. We're just going to leave the flat as we are. Probably rather smelly, but oh well, one can't have everything. So here is the title card here again. You are outside your flat on the east side of Greek Street. So John did mention that he would come to our flat at noon. So let's just, wait until noon. Just going to stand here on the street doing absolutely nothing. Wait for a few minutes. When you next look at your watch, it is 12 o'clock. So wait for a couple of minutes and several hours passed. Let's wait once more just to see whether John shows up. And he does indeed. You wait for a few minutes. John sees you. Hello there, James. Get in the taxi and we'll be off. You climb into the back of the taxi, followed by John. As the door slams shut, the driver glances back briefly to make sure you're both seated and then pulls away from the curb. You're in the back of a London cab. There's a familiar odor of leather, upholstery, and the rustle of horsehair stuffing as you settle back in your seat for the ride. You see your friend. What now? I guess we're just going to wait again. Pretty sure John's just going to tell us more. John waits until the taxi is moving before speaking. You notice that he still seems anxious and preoccupied. About last night. He begins suddenly. You probably noticed that I took that incident rather badly. Well, there's a reason for that. I recognize the voice. Look, I'm not doing a very good job of this. Let's wait until I've had a brandy or something to calm my nerves. You'll like the place we're going. The food is excellent. That is good to know, because we didn't have breakfast yet. Your taxi pulls to a halt. Here we are, says John, getting out. You follow, and the cab driver is paid. You follow him into the restaurant. You are in Il Bianciano, an Italian restaurant run, as the sign on the facade outside proudly proclaims, by the Fratelli Gamberi. It seats about 40 to 50 people, and most of the seating is in booths around the outside, which ensures privacy and gives the restaurant a cozy and intimate feeling. The walls are paneled to waist height in dark wood and decorated above the partitions between the booth with a fresco depiction of a short, stout Bacchus, swathed in a white toga, engaging in what looks like a drunken conga with a collection of disheveled young women. Here, Bacchus is the Roman god of wine, and I think probably also of joy and a couple of other things, but whatever. So let's wait once more, because we're not really doing a lot of stuff here. We're just going to be shoved into taxis while our friends talk to us. You and John are shown a booth and order aperitifs. He has a brandy for medical purposes. When the menus arrive, he suggests ordering for you both to save time and gives a series of instructions to the waiter in what sounds like fluent Italian. I don't think you can start with Italian. You can start with French. You do always start with English. And you can learn ancient Latin. Well, Latin is always ancient. Unless it's, well, let's not get into that. Ancient Greek and Hebrew. Ancient Hebrew. But I don't think you can learn Italian. And it doesn't really matter because this game here, at least in the first half, it does most of the stuff for you. But it does get a lot more proactive later. But this text adventure is more of the interactive story kind. It still works like a text adventure, but it is a bit more hands-on. As I began to tell you in the taxi, he begins after drinking some of the brandy. I recognize the voice the medium spoke with, but it belonged to a woman who died in San Francisco just over a year ago, and who I had the misfortune to be involved with. What now? Who misfortune to be involved with? That sounds interesting. But what I don't understand, he continues, is what he meant by that message. There was nothing at all to do with sounds back then, and why should she address it to that young man rather than not me? At this point, he's interrupted by the arrival of the meal, and conversation ceases for a while as you enjoy the excellent food. Okay, can't go into that direction. So let's just eat the food, even though I'm pretty sure we don't need to specify that. It is delicious, better cooked than other meals you have had that cost twice as much. I have an idea, says John after thinking for a while. If you wouldn't mind helping me, we might be able to find out what this Hound of Shadow is by making use of the British Museum reading room. Registered trademark. I've been there before researching for one of my books. I'll meet you tomorrow morning in the front hall of the museum just after 9. You need a ticket too to get in, so why don't you go down there this afternoon and see about getting one. Okay. So maybe you can ask about the woman because I'm kind of interested in that. Please don't do that to me, thank you. I don't understand that, that's sad. After lunch, Don waves aside. You attempt to pay for it, and having hailed the taxi drops you back outside your flat. Ready to load picture. Press any key to continue. We shall do that. And it's this picture again, yeah. This will be shown every single time you come around your flat, so I guess it's nice and it does add some imagery to what is otherwise mostly just bad text, but as I said before, they could have chosen some like more interesting scenes. Okay, so we're back at our flat, and I guess we can just go to the museum. Ready to load picture. Press any key to continue. There we go. And this is very nice about this game here, because you don't need to say, oh, go north twice, go west 7 times, go southeast, and then go north. No, you can just say, go to flat, go to museum, go to wherever, and there you are. And we got another picture here. You are standing outside the British Museum. From a distance, it is an imposing building. Seen close, it is awesome. Gigantic ionic columns march your way to either side of you, and overhead looms a frieze to dwarf that of any ancient Greek temple. The main entrance is in the center of the building, at the top of a short flight of steps which surround it. Okay, so let's just enter. You're in the entrance hall of the British Museum. On either side, doorways lead off to the ground floor galleries, and there's a huge stone staircase leading to the upper floor and its galleries. At the rear of the hall are the double doors leading to the reading room. Okay, that sounds good to me. So can we just look around? You're in the front hall of the museum. That is awesome. Can we go north? You're in the corridor leading from the front hall to the reading room, which houses a rectangular counter in its center at which passes are checked. To one side is a doorway leading to an office. You see 2 uniformed men. One of them stops you. Excuse me, sir, could I see your ticket? When you explain that you do not have one, he indicates the room leading off the corridor. If you'd like to go to the reader admission office, they will be able to explain the procedure for obtaining one. That sounds good to me. So, one side of the doorway, okay. That sounds good to me, so... Oh, there we go. That was odd. The reader admissions office, in which you find yourself, is a long, narrow room with a paneled wooden counter across it near the public entrance to which you have just come. Behind the counter, the walls are lined with filing cabinets and shelves, and there are 3 desks piled high with papers. You see a clerk. As you enter, he looks up from his work. "Can I be of assistance, sir?" It's capitalized as it should, because apparently we are wearing our Knight of the Realm insignia around our neck. When you explain to him that you have been referred here from the ticket desk, he launches into a well-rehearsed speech. The conditions of admission are fairly straightforward. You should write to the director, British Museum, WC, at least 2 days before you wish to use the reading room, specifying your profession or business, place of abode, and the particular purpose for which you need to use the reading room, and enclosing a reference from someone of recognized position. If the application is successful, you will be notified by letter, which you should then bring to this office. Once you have signed the register, we can let you have your ticket. Noticing your somewhat crestfallen expression, he adds, "If it's important for you to use the reading room immediately, I can let you have a temporary ticket, but it will only be valid for a day or 2. And you will still need to make a form application." He hands you a blank application form. What now? So that sounds good to me. So let's fill that in. The form asks for personal details and reasons for needing to use the reading room. Without knowing exactly what is expected, you can only hope that the reasons you have are given are acceptable. So are we just entering we are chased by a supernatural entity that wants to kill us, and possibly also our friend because he had an affair with women, and that's why we need the reading room? Maybe, or maybe just make something up. It's never really specified. You give the completed ticket application form to the clerk, who takes it and after scrutinizing it briefly writes something on it. Taking a blank ticket card from a pigeonhole below the counter, you copy your details into it before handing it to you. "You can go through now, sir. Just show that ticket to whoever is on duty when you come again. But please bear in mind that it is temporary and only valid for a limited period, and you will need to apply for a ticket in the normal way if you want to use the reading room for continuing research. Oh, and by the way, a word of caution, if I may, a splendid Mr. Sladen is a bit of a stickler for the proprieties and can be a little short with people who don't know what they're doing. If you have any queries to start with, I try the inquiry desk just outside the door." That sounds good to me. So let's just go east and leave. So then let's go to the inquiry room. One of the attendants asks you to see your ticket, which you show him. And apparently we didn't even have to enter that because this happened automatically. "Thank you very much, Sir James." You walk past the desk, through the double doors, and into the reading room. For a long moment, you can do nothing but stand and stare, before you search the single enormous circular room, which must be nearly 50 yards across. Overhead walls the great dome, with its ring of arched windows and central skylight, broken only by the 5 great arc lamps which hang down nearly 100 feet towards the floor. Below the windows, around the outside of the room, run the 2 book galleries and the ground-level bookshelves. And the floor itself is covered with rows of desks, concentric rings of bookcases, and paneled counters. Despite the dull murmur of activity from readers at the desks and the steady traffic across the floor, the overwhelming impression is one of space and light. Like some secular cathedral, it is dedicated to the activity that takes place within it, but at the same time its monumental scale raises that activity above the mundane. This is what I mean. Oftentimes the text actually ends or almost ends, and yet you still have to click that more button. And this looks a little bit less impressive than the description was. But oh well. Maybe we should have gotten the Amiga version, and this would look more impressive, I suppose. So, you're by the inquiry desk, situated a few paces into the reading room and on one side of the entrance. And I think I misspelled inquiry anyway, so whatever. Is the floor plan of the reading room is imagined as a gigantic clock face, with noon directly opposite the entrance. The area runs between 4:30 and 7:30. The inquiry desk itself is a large rectangular wooden enclosure, raised on a plinth so that the assistant seated behind it at the same level as the person standing outside. Opposite it, on the other side of the entrance, is a similar structure with higher sides, behind which more assistants are working with their backs to the room. There are only a few desks in this area, and being nearest to the entrance, they are seldom unoccupied. On the wall above the entrance are painted the large golden numerals. That is actually 1000, 1500, 1800, 1847. Yeah, what now? So, let's inquire, because we are at the inquiry desk. Okay, so can we talk to the clerk? Okay, I guess we cannot. So there we go. The young man behind the desk stops what he is doing and comes across. He listens politely to your query, then explains the workings of the reading room, as he must have done countless times already. To obtain a book, you first of all need to find it in the general catalog, which is kept in closed circular bookshelves in the center of the room. That will give you the press mark, which identifies where the book is stored. Some of them are on open access shelves around the outside of the room, but most of the stock has to be brought from elsewhere in the building. If that is the case, you should first find a desk and then fill in a request form and order it from the book request desk in the very center of the room. It will be delivered to your desk, and when you have finished, you should return it to the request desk. Acknowledging your thanks, he returns to his work. Okay, so you can't really do much here. We do actually have to do some research here later, but we don't have any information, and we will get more information once we do talk to John and get an idea about what we're actually dealing with. So for now, we're just going to go to our flat. You are in the hall near the front door. It is kept clean, but is undecorated. What now? So I think we can just go home. Okay. Leave, please. Why? Why isn't it possible? Okay, can we just... Why can't I go south? I'm pretty sure I entered the museum by going north. Okay. So what's the issue here? Okay, let's try this. Why is that not possible? And we are in the hall. So no. Okay. We can't go home. We could just go to the museum. We could just enter that and everything was fine. So I think leave is probably not a command that they like. Yeah, it's not a command that they like, so not quite sure what the issue here is. So let's just try the cardinal directions. Oh, I thought we were still in the museum. Okay, well, never mind that then. So I thought we were just... didn't consider... we'll just teleport there. Well, so there we go. I thought we were still in the museum. Alright, so what we're going to do now is write to the director, because we want that lifetime pass. You find pen and paper in your lounge. Following the instructions of the clerk in the admissions office, you write to the director, giving the same details as on the form for the temporary ticket, and citing John as a reference. Having sealed the letter, you find that you have run out of stamps, but Miss Baxter will obligingly offers you to post it for you when she's next out shopping, and you give her the letter and change for the stamp. So we actually give her money. Otherwise, we were living pretty cheap here. John seems to pay for the food and the taxi, and we almost didn't pay for those stamps. Okay, so now we have to wait for the next day and then meet John. But what we can also do is we can go to a pub again or to a nightclub. And we could also go to the cinema. I don't think this has any effect on the game. Opting for a matinee performance, you go to the Adelphi Cinema to see Debbie Allen in The Liberty Bell. a stirring film set in the American Revolution before returning to your flat. Okay, you see a copy of the Tatler. So read that copy. There's much of interest in this issue, but there are plenty of advertisements for cinemas, tea dances, nightclubs and theaters. Okay. Can we go to a tea dance? We'll see about that. No, it's not possible. Okay. Let's try a nightclub, even though it might not be late enough for that. There's not much point in going now. None of them will be open yet. So let's go to the pub. There we go. There's no shortage of public houses, but you wander the streets for some time and you find one which looks reasonably respectable and go in. You are in the Tanner's Apron. It is a small pub, but well kept, with clean sawdust on the well-scrubbed floorboards and gleaming brass fittings on the mahogany bar. The pub's not crowded, and you're enjoying a drink at the table by yourself, where there's the sound of chairs being pushed back and voices raised in anger. Turning around, you see a group of workmen, one of whom is having to be restrained by a friend. "Away, Bob. Didn't want any trouble." "How, man? I'll take you all, you cockney bitches, I suppose. Or bastards, maybe. Maybe it's bastards." "Sure, Bob. Just gonna go, man." "You shut up, you daft git." There's a sound of breaking glasses and overturning tables, and the landlord moves purposefully from behind the bar. Passing a table, he stops. "I'll take myself outside for you, sir. Things might get a bit rough in here. What now?" Okay, I suggest we just kill everyone. Try again. You know that the sun has set outside, so did we just attempt to murder everyone in the pub? Whatever, let's just go home. Okay, there we go. And I think we're just going to go to bed and wait until the next day. You go to sleep. And it is the morning again. So, let's go to the museum. Would really help if we actually spelled that correctly. And there we go. So let's enter the museum. Okay, and we should probably wait for John. Let's do just that. Okay, I think they just took the wait command and not actually made us wait for John. So it is now 9 o'clock, so let's wait once more. Okay, let's just go outside. Maybe, oh, look at that, so, okay. Let's go north again. And let's just wait once more. Maybe John is going to show up eventually. Okay, or maybe not. John, where are you? We're running late. Oh, there we go. We're in the front of the museum, so we did have to wait inside. John sees you and walks over. "Good morning, James. I started doing a bit of detective work yesterday afternoon. The first thing I did was send off a telegram to Professor John Nall of Brown University, who is an expert of these matters. He helped Michael and myself sort out that affair in San Francisco that I mentioned before. I'm still waiting for a reply. Then I tried contacting that young man at the seance who was told he had the mark of the Hound on him to see if he had any knowledge of the woman who spoke through the medium. Short of waiting for the next seance, the only way of doing that was to see if the Adept Kami would let me have his name and address. I went back to the house where the seance was held and tried talking to him, but the maid told me that he was indisposed. I managed to persuade her to let me have the young man's calling card, however. He passed across a card on which it is printed in elegant script, Mr. M. Talbot, representing Roland Marcus, dealer in antiquities and rare books, 49A Museum Street, London, WC. Museum Street is almost opposite the front entrance, and in fact you may have come along it on your way here. Can you try to have a word with Mr. Talbot? I'll see if I can come up with anything here in the meanwhile. What now? So that does sound good to me. So let's just go down the street a little bit. Here we are, the museum. And here's the street. And there we go. Oh, we just get another version of that picture. You're on the corner of Museum Street and Hart Street. You're outside 49 Museum Street. Above the navy blue shop front, gold letters identified as Roland Marcus, Antiquities and Rare Text. What do you know? And really? There we go, that's better. Pushing open the door, you enter the shop. As you do so, a bell above the door rings. And another picture, we're getting spoiled today. And look at that. We've got pentagram, some sort of crystal ball, a guy, and a skull with a candle, a classic. Also Jaws and a ton of books. That sounds pretty good to me. So, pushing open the door, you enter the shop. As you do, a bell above the door rings. The interior of the shop is small but uncluttered. Also, there's an impressive variety of books and artifacts around it. You catch tantalizing glimpses of half-visible objects in elaborately bound volumes. A short, stout, balding man in his late 50s sits behind his desk, examining an oddly shaped green statuette. As you enter, he almost furtively puts it down on the desk and stands up, wiping his hands on a cloth. "How may I be of assistance?" he asks, pushing his glasses back onto the bridge of his nose and coming out from behind the desk. Having more than a passing acquaintance with the occult, you can see at a glance that this shop caters for serious students of such matters, and is none of the many that have sprung up to cater for the craze in spiritualism. Once more, text just cut off by a single line. And yeah, our knowledge of the occult actually gives us a different paragraph here, but once more, it doesn't really have any actual effect on the game. Anyway, let's just talk to the guy. And I guess to see whether that works. Oh, no, it does not. So, can we use the business card we got? Nope. Can we just show him the business card? There we go. He takes the card and examines it closely before returning it to you. "Mr. Talbot, I'm afraid he isn't here today. Most unusual, and most unlike him not to contact me with an explanation." Okay. So let's ask about him. Apparently he's reliable and always on time. "I can't add anything to what I've already told you about Mr. Talbot, and even if you have a query about a matter where he was acting on my behalf, I would want to speak to him myself first." Okay, so can we just look around? Okay, so we just get this picture again. So I don't think we can use a command that gives us a breakdown of all the items here. So can we just take the statuette? We probably can't, but we can at least try it. Reaching out to pick up the statuette, you almost drop it in surprise. Expecting the cold smoothness of jade, you're shocked to find it warm and vaguely slimy to the touch. Before you can pick it up properly, Max almost snatches it away and locks it in the drawer on the desk. "Please be careful what you're doing with it. In any case, that item is not for sale." Okay, so that Cthulhu statue apparently can't be bought. And I think we're done for now. Yeah, we didn't get much done, but at least we laid the basis for some more detective work. And apparently the Hound of Shadow is after us. At least that according to our dream. Even though the Hound did not target us during the seance, but who knows. I mean, there's probably a reason why the game is called the Hound of Shadow. Thanks for watching, and I shall see you next time. Take care and goodbye.